Good morning, everybody. Honourable Minister of Finance, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, our distinguished guest speakers, delegates, welcome to this year's Government Employees Pension Fund Annual Thought Leadership Conference. As you've just seen in that hugely embarrassing video, and as I look at my picture, I'm starting to look more and more like my father. He's 95. I've been in this business for a long time, radio and television, and I think the only reason why I have been invited today as the program facilitator is because the organizers thought I was a pensioner. I suspect this is part of... There's no need to applaud, so that's even worse, okay? I think it's probably part of some sympathetic outreach program as far as the fund is concerned. We can debate that later. Although I do have to tell you, I'm not sure if there's anyone in the room who is with Discovery. I'm sure there is, because they're everywhere. There we go. But thank you very much indeed for that little card that you sent me a while back confirming that I was of pensionable age. It gives me 10% at Builders Warehouse on a Wednesday, which is really good. Ladies and gentlemen, this event takes place, and I think you will all concur with me, against an increasingly uncertain global environment. And the risks to the outlook, whether it be in South Africa or around the world, are overwhelmingly, as the International Monetary Fund said recently, tilted to the downside. Do I need to go through the list? The war in Ukraine, the impact of European gas imports from Russia, ongoing inflation concerns, debt distress in emerging markets and the developing economies, and always the specter of COVID-19 outbreaks, as well as the geopolitical fragmentation that we are seeing each and every day. It is of great concern. At this point, I could pause and say, let's call the whole thing off. Buses are outside. We can go and tour wine farms, or we can continue talking. Folks, locally, the government's Economic Reconstruction and Development Plan says this, and I quote, "The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic found a vulnerable South African economy having experienced 2 quarters of recession. As a result, the pandemic, quote, deepened the economic crisis. Many people lost their jobs. Many have gone without income for extended periods. Many are going hungry every single day." The preamble to the report went on to say inequality is expected to widen and poverty is expected to deepen. I would contend against that backdrop, although there have been improvements since that was written, we now need new thinking and new strategies. To that effect, ladies and gentlemen, in the next day and a half, we are going to try and be deeply interrogative if we can. We're going to look at the outlook for the global economy and financial markets post-COVID-19. We will look at navigating what is a deeply uncertain environment right now. And then, as we wrap up, we'll look at the challenges for pension fund administration and benefit management as a consequence of the impact of the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I do also want to acknowledge our partner in this important event, the World Bank, and a special welcome to Therese Couture, Director, Asset Management and Advisory from the organization. I will call you up in just a moment, Therese. But to start proceedings this morning, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Musa Mabesa, Principal Executive Officer at the Government Employees Pension Fund.
Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Enoch Godongwana, Chairperson of the GEPF Board of Trustees, Mr. Dondo Mokajane, the Deputy Chairperson of the GEPF Board, Mr. Eddie Kakana, Trustees of the GEPF Board of Trustees, Director of Asset Management and Advisory, which is the RAMP program at the World Bank Treasury, Ms. Therese Couture, esteemed guests, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. On behalf of the Government Employees Pension Fund and the World Bank, I express my appreciation to each and every one of you for attending the 4th edition of the GEPF Thought Leadership Conference. In today's busy and hectic world, we appreciate you taking the time and effort to join us. The GEPF thanks you for your willingness to share your ideas and expertise with us. As the GEPF, we believe that the answers to the challenges facing the pension fund industry can be met through collaboration and innovation by all the role players in the industry. It is our belief that by bringing together knowledge, experience from across the globe will yield a unique combination of strengths and insights in the pension industry and prepare the industry for a better tomorrow. It is for the above reasons that the GEPF, in partnership with the World Bank Treasury, is hosting this Thought Leadership Conference today. We hope that you will contribute to making the conference to be all that you expect it to be, and that you will take the opportunity to make new friends, renew old acquaintances, and make contact with decision makers and partner for your continued success. I'm not going to take any more of your time, so let's get on with the program. We look forward to your engagement. Thank you and welcome again. Thank you.
Mr. Thank you very much indeed. And just before I call the Honourable Minister of Finance to the podium, Therese, can I ask you to join me on the podium just to say a few words of welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director, Asset Management and Advisory at the World Bank Treasury, Therese Couture.
Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning, Mr. Godongwana, Chairperson Mugawane, Principal Executive Officer Mabesa, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome all of you to the Pension Thought Leadership Conference, which the GEPF and the World Bank Treasury will co-host for the coming 2 days. It is my sincere pleasure and honor to be here today. We are especially delighted to partner and collaborate again with the GEPF for the first in-person conference in almost 3 years since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic in early 2020. I would like to thank Mr. Mugawane, the GEPF Chairperson of the Board of Trustees, and Mr. Musa Mabesa, Principal Executive Officer of the GEPF, for giving us the opportunity to co-organize this event. We greatly appreciate the GEPF senior management for facilitating a global dialogue among leaders of the pension industry, promoting knowledge sharing and providing a platform for thought-provoking discussions and greater opportunities to build relationships and collaborate. We have approximately 300 experts and participants assembled over the next 2 days to discuss pertinent issues and the outlook for global financial markets, as well as challenges in pension management. GEPF is Africa's largest pension fund, with more than 1.2 million active members and serving over 450,000 pensioners and beneficiaries. Over the last decade, GEPF's investment portfolio increased significantly, reaching over 2 trillion South African rands as of March 2021, and its average net return on investment over that period was strong, recording above 8%. As a founding signatory to the UN PRIs, the GEPF has continued to demonstrate its commitment to responsible investment and has committed 5% of its total portfolio for developmental investment purposes. As you may know, the World Bank Treasury's Reserve Advisory and Management Partnership, better known as RAMP, has partnered with official sector pension and social schemes for more than 15 years. RAMP supports pension funds and plan sponsors in devising and enhancing their governance structures and investment policies. RAMP further promotes robust asset management practices, enabling them to maximize risk-adjusted returns that are in line with the pension's risk tolerance and asset liability structure. Sound governance structures and investment policies, coupled with strong asset management practices, will allow pension fund managers to fulfill their fiduciary responsibilities and ultimately protect the best interest of plan members and beneficiaries. A robust and financially sustainable public pension system makes it possible for people to plan their future financial needs and foster security for individuals that leads to stability for society. It is therefore one of the key requirements for the development and prosperity of a modern economy. Let me take this opportunity to briefly touch on some of the challenges that public pension funds face these days, such as high inflation, central banks' hawkish monetary tightening, a rising interest rate environment, climate change, and environmental, social, and governance investing, better known as ESG. After more than a decade of struggling to bring inflation to target, central banks now encounter a much more challenging environment. The shift in the inflationary environment has been remarkable. Inflation has hit its highest level in decades in many countries. For example, US inflation recorded 9.1% this June, which was a 40-year high, and 8.3% in August, which triggered this past Tuesday the worst tumble in S&P 500 since June 2020. And UK inflation reached a new 40-year high of 10.1% in July of this year. The pace of price increases has spiked as supply disruption from the pandemic collided with high consumer demand, fueled by unprecedented fiscal and monetary support. As well, the devastating invasion of Ukraine by Russia has further triggered significant price increases in energy and agricultural products as the West imposed significant economic sanctions on Russia. High inflation is a serious threat to total retirement incomes and pension schemes as well. Fixed income investors stand to lose much from high inflation. The capital value and current income streams of fixed income investments shrinks in real terms and tend to underperform equities when price levels are rising fast. A vicious cycle of high inflation and interest rates could create a bear market for a fixed income investment. And if the cycle continues with a recession, equity investments will be hit significantly, with a potential adverse impact on the financial sustainability of pension schemes. To combat inflation, central banks are embarking on a more hawkish monetary policy stance to ensure inflation does not become more deeply embedded in the global economy. A month ago, in the first face-to-face Jackson Hole meeting in 2 years, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell indicated that another unusually large interest rate increase could be appropriate at the next meeting after 2 such increases in June and July. He also stated that the Fed is likely to keep raising interest rates, eventually at a slower pace, and leave them elevated for some time to restore price stability. And many other central bank governors have signaled their intention to continue tightening their monetary policy. At the same time, it is likely that the significant tightening of monetary policy will have adverse economic impacts. While central banks will have to continue to raise rates to combat inflation, its effectiveness may be limited as the inflation was triggered through supply-side shocks. We have been witnessing the adverse impacts of rapidly rising interest rates, with both fixed income and global equity markets selling off significantly as market participants adjust their expectations. Climate change and its effects on the global economy have become a generation-defining challenge for public asset managers, including pension funds. The global discussion about climate change has also led to an increased awareness about policy operations and their impact on the financial system. It has become critical for investors to incorporate environmental, social, and governance elements into their investment decisions. In addition, investors increasingly consider ESG factors to assess expected risk and return investments beyond the use of traditional financial metrics. Let me conclude with the following question: how do we navigate this challenging environment as public pension asset managers? I believe further enhancing diversification across asset classes, reviewing risk management practices, and strengthening communication to stakeholders, while maintaining a longer-term and holistic perspective, becomes even more important during these turbulent times. I strongly feel that this Thought Leadership Conference will provide all of us with an excellent opportunity to discuss these challenges and policy options for public pension asset managers. We have a wonderful agenda with a stellar lineup of speakers for the coming 2 days, including panels on the outlook for the global economy and financial markets, against the backdrop of COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine, navigating an uncertain environment, opportunities and challenges in private debt and equity investments, and the global environment and energy transition with its challenges and opportunities for pension fund investment. Again, let me extend my warmest welcome to you. I look forward to fascinating and formative discussions over the next 2 days. Thank you so much.